Hello, esteemed gentlemen. The greatest trick the system ever pulled was convincing men that freedom is a luxury, not a birthright. Look around you. Every man you see is plugged into the matrix, trapped in an invisible prison he doesn't even recognize. He wakes up to an alarm he hates, works a job he despises, and spends his hard-earned money on things he doesn't need, all to impress people who don't care. Society keeps him on a treadmill of endless distractions, feeding him the illusion of choice while ensuring he never truly escapes. But there is one type of man who doesn't play by these rules. He doesn't chase validation, doesn't bow to authority, and doesn't sacrifice his time, energy, or mind for a system designed to break him. He is the Sigma male, a ghost in the machine, moving undetected, extracting value while giving nothing back. Here's a fact. 80% of men spend their lives chasing things that don't belong to them: status, approval, meaningless relationships, while the other 20% build their own reality. And within that 20%, a small, elite percentage have mastered the art of moving completely outside the system's frequency. These men don't just unplug from the matrix, they make it irrelevant. So if you're tired of being another cog in the machine, keep reading. But be warned, once you see the truth, there's no going back. Number 1. They reject the debt-based slavery system. Society has perfected a trap so well designed that most men don't even realize they've walked straight into it. It's not chains or cages that keep them stuck, it's debt. From the moment a man enters adulthood, he's bombarded with the idea that success means taking on financial obligations he'll spend decades repaying. A mortgage, student loans, car payments, credit card debt, all wrapped up in a neat little package called responsibility. But responsibility to who? Certainly not to himself. Debt is the system's favorite leash because it turns men into obedient workers. A man drowning in payments has no real choices. He can't speak freely at work because he needs his paycheck. He can't walk away from a toxic situation because the bills won't stop. He can't take risks, explore, or build something for himself because every dollar is already spoken for. And that's exactly how the system wants it. Sigma males see this trap for what it is and refuse to play along. They don't take on financial burdens that tie them down. Instead, they prioritize mobility and autonomy. If they need money, they find ways to earn it on their own terms. Business, investments, high-value skills. Not by trading their soul for a salary. They reject the idea that a house or a fancy car is the ultimate goal, knowing that true wealth isn't in possessions. It's in freedom. This is why Sigmas are so dangerous to the system. They can't be controlled. They don't fear losing a job, relocating, or cutting ties because they're not shackled by financial obligations. They can disappear and reappear anywhere, untethered, untraceable. While others spend decades paying off a house they barely live in, Sigmas own their time, the one thing money can't buy back. Most men die in financial servitude without ever realizing they were slaves. Sigma males, they walk right past the cage debt-free and never look back. Number 2. They function outside emotional blackmail. Guilt is one of the most powerful weapons society uses to keep men in check. From the moment a man is old enough to understand expectations, he's bombarded with messages about what he should do. He should sacrifice for his family, climb the corporate ladder, be a provider, tolerate disrespect, and always put others first. And if he ever dares to question these rules, he's shamed, labeled selfish, or told he's not a real man. But here's the secret. These expectations aren't about morality or virtue. They exist to keep men controllable. A man who seeks approval is easy to manipulate. Make him feel guilty enough and he'll tolerate a miserable job, stay in a one-sided relationship, and bend over backward for people who would never do the same for him. Society runs on this invisible leash, ensuring most men never step out of line. Sigma males, however, don't play this game. They recognize guilt-tripping for what it is, a control tactic, and they reject it without hesitation. They don't tolerate toxic relationships just because family is everything. They don't stay in draining careers because real men provide, and they definitely don't waste their energy proving themselves to people whose opinions don't matter. This makes them dangerous to those who rely on emotional blackmail. Women who use guilt to control weak men find that their tricks don't work on a Sigma. Employers who expect blind loyalty are met with indifference. Friends and family who try to impose obligations are politely ignored. Sigma males don't argue, don't explain, and don't seek validation. They simply walk away, leaving manipulators powerless. Most men spend their lives tangled in guilt, making choices based on fear of disapproval. Sigma males? They make choices based on one question. Does this serve my freedom? If the answer is no, they detach without hesitation, and that alone makes them unstoppable. Number 3. They aren't distracted by society's bread and circuses. Society thrives on keeping men distracted and docile. It floods them with endless entertainment, viral debates, celebrity scandals, and political theater, all designed to consume their mental energy without giving them anything of real value. Every day, millions of men wake up, check their phones, and immediately dive into meaningless arguments about sports, pop culture, or the latest outrage of the week. They know more about actors' personal lives than they do about their own financial situation. They can recite political talking points, but have no plan for their own future. This is not an accident, it's by design. The system doesn't want men thinking critically, questioning authority, or building independent lives. It wants them emotionally invested in things that don't matter, so they never realize how much of their potential is being wasted. Bread and circuses kept ancient Rome's population in check, and the same tactic works today. A distracted man is a harmless man. Sigma males, however, are immune to this trap. They see distractions for what they truly are, mind-numbing pacifiers for the weak. While the masses argue over celebrities, Sigmas are mastering new skills. While others obsess over political drama they have no control over, Sigmas are refining their independence. They do not waste time engaging in meaningless debates, chasing trends, or following the herd into outrage cycles. This is why Sigmas appear detached from society. It's not that they don't understand what's happening. It's that they refuse to engage in the illusion. They are busy building, evolving, and securing their autonomy while the rest of the world stays plugged into the distraction machine. The difference is simple. While others consume, Sigmas create. While others react, Sigmas strategize. And while others chase the next dopamine hit, Sigmas chase mastery over their own lives. A man who can't be distracted is a man who can't be controlled. And that is exactly why Sigma males remain untouchable in a world designed to keep men weak. Number 4. They do not fear digital exile. Most people today are digital addicts without even realizing it. Their entire identity is tied to their online presence. Followers, likes, validation from strangers. They wake up and immediately check notifications, desperate for some form of recognition. If their account got deleted tomorrow, they wouldn't just lose a platform, they'd lose their sense of self. That's how deeply society has conditioned people to depend on the digital world for relevance. Sigma males, they couldn't care less. They see social media for what it truly is, a tool, not a life support system. If it serves a purpose, they'll use it. If not, they have zero hesitation in walking away. No dramatic goodbyes, no taking a break announcements, just gone. And unlike most, they don't experience withdrawal because their self-worth isn't tied to digital validation. This is why Sigma males are so unsettling to the modern world. They don't need an audience to feel important. They don't chase clout. They don't care about trends. And they don't measure their value in likes or shares. If anything, they prefer operating in the shadows, making moves where nobody can see them. While the average man spends hours crafting the perfect post or scrolling through nonsense, Sigmas are building real-world power. Digital exile is terrifying to most because it forces them to face an uncomfortable truth. Without their online persona, they feel like nothing. That's why they stay plugged in, even when they claim to hate social media. But Sigma males, they have a solid, unshakable sense of self that exists completely outside the algorithm. The ability to disappear at will isn't just a flex, it's a form of power. It means no one can cancel them, no one can track their every move, and no one can control them through digital dependency. While others are prisoners of the online world, Sigma males remain free, because they were never truly there to begin with. Number 5. They are adaptable to any collapse. Most men live in a fragile bubble, assuming the world will always function as it does today. They trust the system, believing their jobs, savings, and routines will remain stable. But history proves otherwise. Societies collapse, economies crash, and power structures shift overnight. When that happens, the majority panic, unable to process a reality where the rules have changed. Sigma males, however, are built differently. They don't just survive chaos, they thrive in it. While others scramble for last-minute solutions, Sigmas already have contingency plans in place. They don't bet on stability, they expect disruption. This mindset allows them to move quickly, adapt effortlessly, and stay ahead while the rest of the world crumbles in confusion. A financial crash? Most people lose everything because they've tied their entire existence to a paycheck or a single source of income. Sigmas have multiple revenue streams, alternative investments, and skills that don't depend on a fragile system. They're not waiting for the government to save them. They've already secured their own safety net. Political instability? Most men are too emotionally invested in systems beyond their control. Sigmas remain neutral, observant, and ready to adjust based on where the power shifts. While others argue over elections, Sigmas are preparing their exit strategies, new alliances, or relocation plans. Technological upheaval? Many rely so heavily on modern conveniences that they'd be helpless if things went offline. Sigmas ensure they have real-world practical skills, self-defense, survival tactics, financial literacy, and problem-solving abilities that work in any era. They aren't just tech-savvy. They understand how to operate in a world that may one day lose that technology. When collapse comes, whether financial, political, or societal, the average man reacts. The Sigma male is already 10 steps ahead. That's why, no matter what happens, he never truly loses. While others are drowning, he's already on the next boat, sailing towards his next move. Number 6. They decode the feminine power play. Most men don't realize they're playing a rigged game when it comes to women. Society has carefully designed a system where men are expected to chase, provide, and sacrifice, while women hold all the leverage. Through legal structures, social conditioning, and emotional tactics, modern women have been handed a power play that keeps the average man desperate for approval and easy to control. Marriage laws overwhelmingly favor women. Divorce courts strip men of their assets, children, and financial independence. Social narratives paint men as villains or failures if they don't commit to relationships that often benefit only one side. Emotional manipulation, whether through guilt, shame, or validation withdrawal, is used to keep men walking on eggshells, afraid to lose access to intimacy. Most men fall into this trap, blindly accepting the conditions set before them. Sigma males? They see right through it. They don't engage in the chase, they don't seek validation, and they don't fall for the emotional games that keep weaker men trapped. A Sigma male understands that power is in scarcity, and because he isn't desperate for female approval, he instantly becomes more valuable. He knows that modern dating is a negotiation, not a fairy tale, and he refuses to enter deals that don't benefit him. Unlike the masses, he's not afraid to walk away. This alone dismantles the power play entirely, because a woman can't manipulate a man who doesn't need anything from her. The biggest threat to a system built on male compliance is a man who doesn't comply. That's why Sigma males are so disruptive. They don't fight women, they don't hate them, and they don't argue. They just refuse to play the game, and that makes them untouchable. Number 7. They understand that the ultimate freedom is ownership of mind and time. Most men think they're free, but in reality, their mind and time belong to someone else. From the moment they wake up, they follow a schedule dictated by forces outside their control. Jobs they don't own, obligations they never questioned, and beliefs they inherited rather than chose. Society has perfected a system that keeps men mentally occupied and physically exhausted, ensuring they never stop to ask the most important question: who truly owns my life? Sigma males break this cycle because they understand a truth that most never realize. Real freedom isn't about money or status. It's about controlling your own thoughts and time. The Matrix doesn't just trap men financially. It conditions them to think in ways that serve the system. It fills their minds with distractions, fears, and programmed behaviors designed to keep them compliant. Work harder, chase success, seek validation, fear rejection, obey authority. This is the script every man is expected to follow. But Sigma males reject the script entirely. They take full ownership of their mind, filtering out the noise, rejecting limiting beliefs, and questioning everything. They don't think how they're told to think. They think on their own terms. This mental sovereignty allows them to move through life without being emotionally manipulated, socially pressured, or mentally enslaved by mainstream narratives. Then comes the second layer: time. Most men trade their time for money, locking themselves into an existence where their most valuable resource is constantly drained. Sigma males understand that time is the only thing that can never be replaced, so they guard it fiercely. They build incomes that don't demand their entire day, set boundaries that protect their energy, and design lives where they move when and how they want. This is the ultimate power: to own your mind, to own your time, and to live on your own terms. While the rest of the world runs in circles, trapped in a system they never questioned, Sigma males walk freely because they were never truly caught. Number 8. They are unapologetically selfish in a world that demonizes it. From birth, men are fed a dangerous lie that their worth is measured by how much they sacrifice for others. They're told to be providers, protectors, and tireless workers, always giving, always putting themselves last. The more they give, the more honorable they're considered. But what does this self-sacrifice actually lead to? Exhausted men, drained of their energy, finances, and ambitions, left with nothing for themselves. Sigma males don't fall for this trap. They understand a fundamental truth that most men never grasp. No one respects a man who doesn't prioritize himself. Society conditions men to be self-sacrificing because it benefits everyone else, but never the man himself. Employers want him to work himself to death. Women want him to cater to their needs. Friends and family expect him to always be available. The moment he stops serving others, he's called selfish. Sigmas embrace being selfish because they know it's the only way to be truly strong. They put themselves first, not out of cruelty, but out of survival. They don't give away their time, energy, or resources to people who haven't earned it. If helping someone comes at the cost of their own well-being, they don't hesitate to say no. And if someone tries to guilt-trip them, it doesn't work, because they don't seek external validation. This self-prioritization isn't just about independence. It's about power. A man who doesn't need approval, who doesn't live for others, and who refuses to be drained, becomes untouchable. He's not easily manipulated. He doesn't chase relationships out of desperation, and he's not trapped in obligations that weaken him. The world demonizes selfishness because a selfish man is a free man, one who serves no master, obeys no expectations, and moves entirely on his own terms. While most men give themselves away until there's nothing left, Sigma males protect, cultivate, and build themselves first. And that's why they win. Number 9, they exploit the system without being trapped in it. Most men either blindly follow the system or try to fight against it. Both paths lead to failure. The obedient worker drones waste their entire lives playing by the rules, only to realize too late that the game was rigged against them. Meanwhile, the rebels who loudly reject society end up as outcasts, struggling to survive because they refuse to learn how to navigate the world as it is. Sigma males take a different route. They play the system, but on their own terms. They understand that society, for all its flaws, still has loopholes, weaknesses, and exploitable resources. Instead of getting trapped in the grind like the average man, or burning themselves out in pointless rebellion, Sigmas extract everything they can from the system without ever letting it own them. They leverage jobs to gain skills but never tie their entire livelihood to an employer. They use social connections to access opportunities, but never become dependent on validation or groupthink. They understand how money, power, and influence work, and they take what they need while avoiding the traps that enslave others. For example, while most men rack up student debt chasing a degree they'll never use, a Sigma acquires knowledge efficiently, through self-education, mentorships, and strategic learning. While others commit to decades of mortgage payments just to say they own a home, a Sigma sees real estate for what it is, a financial tool, not a status symbol. And while society pressures men into traditional relationships with heavy financial and emotional costs, a Sigma chooses arrangements that benefit him, not ones that drain him. The secret is detachment. Sigmas engage with the world, but they're never owned by it. They take what's useful, discard what's not, and move strategically instead of emotionally. They aren't rebels without a cause, nor are they obedient slaves. They are the ghosts in the machine, operating within the system, but never controlled by it. Number 10, they master information warfare. The world isn't run by politicians, corporations, or governments. It's run by narratives. Everything you see, hear, and read is part of a larger system designed to control how you think, what you believe, and ultimately how you act. The masses, unaware of this, blindly consume information without questioning its source or intent. They form opinions based on headlines, follow trends without thinking, and react emotionally to whatever crisis is placed in front of them. In short, they're mentally enslaved without realizing it. Sigma males, however, see through the illusion. They don't just consume information. They analyze, deconstruct, and weaponize it. They understand that the media doesn't exist to inform, but to shape perception. That governments don't seek order, but compliance. That social trends aren't organic, but carefully engineered. This awareness makes them immune to manipulation, allowing them to stay ahead while others are being led like cattle. They don't engage in emotional debates because they know most people are simply repeating programmed beliefs. They don't fall for fear-based narratives because they recognize the psychological tactics behind them. And they certainly don't waste time defending ideas that were planted in their minds by external forces. Instead, they observe, adapt, and move strategically. This mastery of information warfare gives Sigma males a massive advantage. While others are distracted by outrage cycles, they are planning their next move. While society reacts in predictable patterns, they are several steps ahead, already anticipating the next shift. And because they don't fall for collective programming, they remain independent thinkers in a world where originality is almost extinct. The ability to control your own mind in an era of psychological warfare is the ultimate power move. And that's exactly why Sigma males remain unshaken, untouchable, and always ahead of the game. Number 11. They manipulate without being manipulated. In every interaction, someone is being influenced. Most men don't realize this. They walk through life thinking they're making their own choices, when in reality, they're being subtly guided by social expectations, emotional manipulation, or psychological tactics they don't even recognize. The result? They become pawns in a game they don't even know they're playing. Sigma males, however, understand the game, and they refuse to be played. They see the hidden forces behind persuasion, the unspoken power dynamics in every conversation, and the unconscious biases that shape human behavior. While others are blindly reacting, Sigmas are calculating. They analyze body language, tone, word choice, and emotional cues in real time, allowing them to predict and steer interactions with precision. But here's where they become truly dangerous. They don't just resist manipulation, they use it. Sigmas aren't loud, aggressive, or forceful, but their ability to subtly shift situations in their favor is unmatched. They influence without ever seeming like they're trying to. Unlike traditional manipulators who rely on deception and coercion, Sigmas understand that the most effective way to control a situation is to make the other person believe it was their idea all along. This gives them a level of social power that's almost invisible, yet undeniable. They know when to withhold information, when to plant ideas, and when to say nothing at all. They understand that silence can be more powerful than words, that indifference can make them more desirable, and that true control comes from never appearing controlling. While the masses are easily swayed by emotion, trends, and external pressures, Sigmas remain untouchable, immune to the very tactics they use on others. That's why they don't argue, don't chase, and don't beg. They don't need to. They let the world come to them, and they take exactly what they want. Number 12. They see romantic relationships as a potential liability. Most men are conditioned to believe that romantic relationships are a necessity, that their worth is tied to finding a partner, maintaining a relationship, and making endless sacrifices to keep the peace. They're told that love is about giving, compromising, and proving themselves. This belief system turns relationships into a trap, one where men sacrifice their goals, money, and freedom for the illusion of stability. Sigma males don't buy into this illusion. They see relationships not as a requirement, but as an option, one that must be evaluated with cold logic, not blind emotion. While other men chase validation through relationships, Sigmas assess them like an investment. Does this add to my life or take away from it? If a relationship threatens their autonomy, drains their energy, or introduces unnecessary stress, they have no problem walking away without guilt, without second-guessing, and without looking back. This mindset is dangerous to a world that profits off desperate men. The modern dating market thrives on men who will sacrifice everything to keep a woman interested. The moment a man realizes he doesn't need to be in a relationship to be fulfilled, he becomes uncontrollable. He no longer tolerates emotional games, manipulative tactics, or one-sided expectations. He doesn't beg for attention, doesn't compromise his principles, and refuses to engage in relationships that demand more than they offer. This doesn't mean Sigmas avoid relationships entirely. It means they refuse to be enslaved by them. They are perfectly fine being alone because their identity isn't dependent on a partner. If they do engage, it's always on their terms, with clear boundaries and zero tolerance for nonsense. The world tells men that being single is a failure. Sigma males prove the opposite. True power is being so complete on your own that relationships become a choice, not a crutch. The matrix was never built to be questioned. It was built to be obeyed. Most men move through life on autopilot, following scripts they never wrote, chasing goals they never questioned, and submitting to invisible forces they don't even recognize. They think they're making choices, but in reality, the choices have already been made for them. Sigma males stand apart because they refuse to be programmed. They see what others ignore, move where others hesitate, and think in ways others fear. They aren't rebels for the sake of rebellion, nor are they mindless participants in a broken system. Instead, they exist on the edges, exploiting the world's structures while never being owned by them. This is why they are dangerous. A man who doesn't need approval, who doesn't crave validation, and who doesn't fear exile is a man who can't be controlled. He doesn't follow the herd, doesn't bow to manipulation, and doesn't trade his freedom for comfort. And because of this, he is always several steps ahead, untouchable, unpredictable, and unstoppable. Society calls them loners, outsiders, or enigmas because it cannot understand them. But what the world fears, it cannot control. And that is why Sigma males remain the only men who don't operate on the matrix's frequency. If this message hit differently, if it made you see the world in a way you never have before, then you're already thinking beyond the matrix. And that means you belong here. This isn't just another channel. This is a movement for those who refuse to be controlled, for those who question, who strategize, who move in silence while the rest follow blindly. If that resonates with you, then hit that subscribe button, because trust me, the content coming next will change the way you see everything. Like this video if you refuse to be programmed. Drop a comment if you're a Sigma operating outside the system, and most importantly, share this with someone who needs to wake up. Because the more men who break free, the weaker the matrix becomes. Stay sharp, stay untouchable, and I'll see you in the next one.